Well, there is a significant minority of companies who are taking steps because they know they'll be directly affected by Brexit, running different scenarios, looking at their options. There's also a quiet majority who are simply getting on with business and saying they'll react to changes in the UK's economic arrangements when in fact they do arise. So it's a tale of two business communities.
I think a lot of people will also be surprised at the fact that you're calling for existing EU regulations to be maintained. Why is that?
Well, for many years, I would have said that perhaps reducing regulation would be a great way to help businesses grow. But what we've been getting in feedback from hundreds of businesses around the country is that, at least in the short to medium term, regulatory stability is really important to them. They need to know that they can use the same product standards, for example, that they do today, or indeed their obligations to their employees are about the same. Because for them, the cost of immediate change would be extremely significant. They'd rather look at those regulations again in the fullness of time, but start from that point of equivalence.
Even though some of those regulations may not necessarily be good for business?
Well, they're quite happy to start from where we are today. And undoubtedly, there will be some places and some sectors where they'll think, in the fullness of time, we need to make changes to those regulations. But they don't want to do it immediately. They say they have enough on their plate to contend with the change of Brexit, to have change of regulation at exactly the same time.
There's clearly also a lot of anxiety among your members about whether HMRC is set up for a possible departure from the customs union.
Right now, I think customs computer systems process around 90 million submissions a year. That may go up fivefold in the time between now and Brexit, or indeed if we do leave the customs union. For that reason, they want to know that the IT is solid. They want to know what the procedures are going to be in future for customs. They want to know that they can use mechanisms that they have used for many years, like the work that they do with chambers of commerce to get their goods into market around the world. All of those things are very important to them. So business wants a customs system that works well and that creates as little friction as possible for their trade, both with the EU and with the rest of the world.
So you'd like to see more resources for HMRC?
Well, I think it's inevitable that we will need to ensure that our customs authorities can handle the volume of business that may be coming at them in the years to come. That's both inbound, when our importers are trying to get their goods into this country, and also outbound, when exporters are trying to make sure that their goods get out to market. We need to be resourced up. We need to be ready for that.
We've got a lot of big political heavyweights here that we've heard from this morning. George Osborne said that leaving the single market would be the biggest act of protectionism in the history of the UK. Boris Johnson said that Brexit was a great opportunity for a free trading nation. Who's right?
Well, I think for a lot of the businesses and the business communities that we represent, it's rerunning of old arguments, to be quite frank. Quite a lot of the businesses in the room say to us, I want to focus on the practicalities. Who can I hire? Where do I pay my VAT? Will my stuff get through customs when I'm trading around the world? Those very basic, everyday questions are what they want answered. They're not as interested in the political debate around Brexit. They're interested in the hard-nosed reality.
But you've campaigned, you've argued for remaining in the customs union. Presumably you'd have more sympathy with George Osborne.
Well, we've made no pronouncements about the customs union in its current form. What we do want is to ensure that British businesses have frictionless trade with other EU countries. There's lots of different ways you could envisage that happening in future. You want them to have low or no tariffs wherever possible in future as well. All of that depends on the negotiation ahead. What we've tried to do is set out some building blocks, set out the principles for government that businesses want to see brought to life, the practicalities, if you were, not some of the high politics.